What's up, guys? It's Jade back here for a brand new video, and in today's video we have the return of the Fantasy Fights series. This series has been in the making to return for a while now. This is pretty much the series that helped get my channel to literally 4,000 subscribers. The Fantasy Fights series is back in a brand new incarnation with some slight changes to how I'm going to run the Fantasy Fights series. Today we have a very special matchup for the comeback. Of course, it's Halloween by the time you guys are seeing this video, so happy Halloween. We're going to be seeing who is the superior goated werewolf between the one and only true alpha from MTV's Teen Wolf, Scott McCall, versus the Wolfman himself from the Universal Monsters, Lawrence Talbot, from the 2010 version of the Wolfman. If you guys are excited for today's video, make sure you guys leave a like. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so that you guys never miss a future upload from me. And with that all said, let's hop into the matchup. So there have been some changes with the Fantasy Fights. Of course, as I mentioned in the intro to this video, we are now going to be kind of basing our little categories off of my good friend Kroheezy's categories on how he likes to do his fights. We're going to be following his sort of guidelines for how he bases his fights, which are strength, speed, skill, durability, and creativity. Let's start with strength, which in my opinion goes to Lawrence Talbot. The Wolfman definitely takes the strength category when it comes to this fight without question. Scott is strong, don't get me wrong, but he's never shown at any point in the series to just walk up to people and casually decapitate them with no issues whatsoever without outputting that much strength, as well as also casually ripping off people's limbs, which Lawrence in wolf form can do without breaking a sweat as well. The strongest strength feats we've seen from Scott is uppercutting Peter a few feet in the air and breaking Velasco's forearm. Both impressive feats on their own, but nothing even close to Lawrence's strength, such as when Lawrence picked up a man and threw him from a 3-story building. Scott in his universe also isn't even the strongest werewolf, as the creator of the series himself in 2020, during an interview with YouTuber Teen Wolf News, stated that the Beast and Deucalion were still stronger than Scott by the end of the series. Scott got demolished by the Beast every time they fought, whereas when Lawrence fought his father, he was getting beat down on pretty bad. But there was a legit excuse for this. Unlike with Scott, Lawrence had only been a werewolf for less than a few days to a week at the most, compared to his father, who was a werewolf for at least 25 years by the events of the movie. So there is a clear experience difference between the two, which was showcased on screen as well, with Sir John being more used to his powers and embracing them, rather than Lawrence, who never wanted to be a werewolf in the first place and was fighting his power. And still, even with all that considered, Lawrence was still able to get the W and killed his father as a werewolf. Lawrence takes this category, and it's also stated by the creatives who wrote The Wolfman that Lawrence is as strong as 20 men or more and is described as being a literal one-man army. Next category is speed. I'm gonna also give this to the Wolfman as well. I was gonna do a draw because I wasn't really sure at first if Lawrence was faster than Scott or if Scott was faster than Lawrence. But after watching some clips from the Wolfman and watching some scenes from Teen Wolf, it's pretty apparent that on a consistent basis, not just using one instance of one being faster than the other to make a definitive case, but on a consistent basis, Lawrence is faster than Scott in his wolf form. So for speed, I'm going to give this to Lawrence for sure. Scott isn't particularly fast, although there are moments in the series that showcase his fast speeds, especially when he runs on all fours, which is when he's the fastest. Unfortunately, though, Scott has only done this at least 2 times in the entire series and prefers to run on all 2. As past season 2, we never see Scott run on all 4s again. When Scott runs on all 2s, I would say he's at least above average, peaking at around an Olympic athlete speed level. Lawrence, on the other hand, is extremely fast when traveling, and unlike Scott, in wolf form, Lawrence usually travels on all 4s, which allows him to catch up to prey quicker than he would when traveling bipedal. Although in the film, we do see Lawrence as the Wolfman use both methods of traveling, as he runs on all 2s and can very quickly out of nowhere switch to running on all 4s. We see him traveling from building to building at a quick pace, and even using his father as an example, we know that the werewolves in this universe run similarly to Peter Hell in Teen Wolf Season 1, as Sir John, a more experienced werewolf, was able to move so fast around the camp earlier in the film, he looked like a blur. He was also able to instantaneously run from the camp into the woods quite a distance away from the chaos within a matter of a few seconds. Lawrence takes the speed category. Next is going to be skill, which I'm not even going to explain this one too much. This obviously goes to Scott McCall. Yeah, so I'm not even going to explain this one too much. It's obvious that Scott takes this category. Lawrence in wolf form is the literal definition of a beast and a pure animal, as he operates more like an actual wolf rather than having a cognitive ability to think on par with human beings. Though in wolf form, Lawrence is shown to be somewhat smart as well, recognizing his surroundings and people he's familiar with, such as Gwen at the end of the film. Had it not been for the fact that he was being hunted, it's likely that Lawrence would have left Gwen alone and ran off to do what he usually does in the woods, which is just act like a normal wolf trying to be left alone and just carry on about his business. Scott is shown in his universe to be quite the capable fighter, even though he lacks the skill of some characters such as Garrett Douglas, Derek Hale, and even Kali from the Alpha Pack. When going all out against Peter Hell and Smoke and Mirrors, Scott is at his absolute best here when it comes to using his powers and abilities, even going as far as dodging Peter's attacks like he was Goku from Dragon Ball Super using Ultra Instinct.
What?
Damn! Yeah, this goes to Scott McCall. Next category is durability, which is going to once again go to the Wolf Man. Durability easily goes to Lawrence. It's firmly established in this incarnation of the Universal Monsters universe that werewolves can only be killed either using silver weapons or through being decapitated with enough force, such as when Lawrence killed his father by decapitating him. Fire only bothers and hurts the werewolves in this universe, but it won't necessarily kill them. Lawrence was only taken down and permanently killed by a silver bullet. Throughout the Wolfman, Lawrence's durability is absolutely busted. We see him being invulnerable to pistols, shotguns, handguns, cold steel weapons such as harpoons, swords, arrows, and knives. All of these things mentioned can easily kill any Teen Wolf werewolf with the exception of Sebastian Valet. Deucalion, arguably the second strongest werewolf in the series, and a werewolf confirmed to be stronger than Scott by the end of the show, is taken out and killed by a few rounds from an assault rifle. Not to mention Scott has died twice. The first time was through consent, and the second time was after he took enough physical damage from an enraged and powered up Liam Dunbar on the supermoon. Granted, he had at least 3 weeks of Wolfbane in his system, so he was very weak, and was then subsequently killed by Theo Rakin after just barely shoving his claws through his chest. A tactic we've seen Lawrence as the Wolfman do literally with the first person he kills in the movie. Durability goes to the Wolfman. Last category is creativity, which goes to Scott McCall, and there's not much to explain here either. We've never seen the Wolfman do anything creatively in wolf form, as he fights more like a savage beast than anything. Scott is very creative and is a very versatile fighter, arguably the most creative aside from Derek Hale. And Scott uses a mix of different fighting styles to get the edge on his opponents. He can fight like an animal, like Deucalion, or he can fight with some technique like Derek. So creativity goes to Scott McCall. Now, as for the winner of this fight, let's decide who's going to win right now. In a fight to the death where these two are meeting up with each other, and yes, I'm changing up the rules of how I do these fights. So if you guys are not familiar with the Fantasy Fight series, in the old series, I used to kind of go based on how the characters act in universe. But for this reincarnation of the Fantasy Fights, no, both opponents have to be willing to kill each other. So Scott will be willing to kill during this fight. I see the Wolfman coming out on top in this. While Scott is a very powerful fighter and a threat in his own universe, the werewolves from the 2010 Universal Monsters universe scale above Teen Wolf's werewolves. It's possible Scott has enough power to possibly punch a hole through Lawrence or even decapitate him, but we've never seen Scott output that on a casual basis, at least that much level of strength. But we've never seen Scott output on a casual basis as much power as Lawrence has in his wolf form. I see Scott using his more creative tactics of fighting and slightly getting an edge over Lawrence, but the Wolfman's superior speed, strength, and durability are what's going to win him this death match. And when Lawrence is threatened, he's pretty much always fighting to not only get people to leave him alone, but to kill as well. And when he's out of control, Scott might as well dig his own grave. He's already dead. As much as Teen Wolf fans are going to be pissed, I'm confidently going with the Wolfman on this one. Lawrence Talbot wins this death match. So If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys leave a like. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as mentioned at the beginning of this video. Help us reach 11,000 subscribers by the time Thanksgiving hits. We're trying to reach that within the next couple of weeks. We're already almost at 10,200 subscribers. So if you guys can help us reach that goal quick, that would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to hit at least 12,000 to 13,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which would be awesome. So yeah. Also, I'll leave my plugs at the end of the video, which you can also follow me on social media. I have Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. All my social media plugs and other plugs will be in the description down below, such as my merch store, my Discord server, and my book series True Alpha. I'll leave. Make sure you guys have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will catch you guys in the next Fantasy Fights matchup video. Peace.